Welcome back to Mixtape 51. I'm Jade, and on this channel, I discuss everything photography. On this one, it's going to be kind of a shorter one. I don't think this is going to be a hugely popular subject, but in case it might be of interest to you, I created my first zine, and I just thought I would cover some of the talking points as far as the app I used and decisions I made in case this might be of interest to you. A zine has always been something that I've wanted to do for my photography, and it's going to be something that I want to do moving forward in the future as well. I feel like it kind of, I don't know, really solidifies a lot of my purpose for going out and shooting as far as bringing together any of the stories or the thoughts I had when I was shooting a composition. It's just, I feel a nice way to document all of that. And I chose to go with just a straight digital format for my PDF. I didn't choose to print it. Printing is very expensive. To get discounts on it, you really have to print a high volume. And I just wanted to really get my zine out there in the least expensive way possible as far as overhead goes and making it available and accessible. So that is the reason I chose to go with a digital format. But let me kind of go through my notes here as far as all the other talking points on this. Let's see here. So the first topic I was going to cover is my process. And what I did there is every day that I shot, like for example, this particular zine is based in New York. After each day of shooting and going out in the streets, I would just take time to gather all my thoughts and use the note app on the iPhone and just put down my notes, just mark the day and that kind of thing. And I would put also other basics as far as maybe what the weather was like, but really just try to solidify anything I was thinking when I was maybe taking a composition or any of the challenges of that day that presented themselves. And it really was huge for being able to reference, because otherwise you're ultimately just going to forget all the little details or particulars of what may have happened on that day of shooting. The other thing I did to kind of help bring things together for the zine is to incorporate the IG posts that I had made. So going back through my IG history and looking at my New York images and gathering those particular posts, and also incorporating that with the notes that I had done, I think really helped for solidifying the zine content and making it more interesting, and also making sure that I covered all the details that I thought were pertinent to bringing together the story of the images. Another thing that I did for the content of the zine is to try to utilize ChatGPT. So if I had put together some content and it just wasn't really flowing very well, I would run it through ChatGPT and just ask ChatGPT, hey, can you word this in a different way that maybe flows better? And most of the time it came out with something that worked a lot better and flowed better and sounded better and all the things. So if you haven't used ChatGPT, I think it's a great resource to utilize. I was just using the free version. It wasn't anything that I was paying for. And I was actually really impressed. It worked great. Now, as far as the app that I used, I went with Apple Pages. Pages is an app that comes free of charge if you've purchased a Mac product or Apple product. In my case, it's a MacBook Pro. And I went with that just because it was no cost to me. I come from graphic design background where I have utilized InDesign for most of my adult career life, but in between times when I don't need InDesign is very expensive. And well, it can be very expensive. You have to sign up for a year. It's like $23 a month. And so what I liked about Pages is that it was at no cost, really easy to use. And so it's a great resource if you happen to have a Mac. I would think that PCs probably have a similar thing. I don't totally know. You might have to pay for something like Word. But if you do have an Apple Mac product, then Pages is a great resource. Now, speaking of Apple Pages, one downside, just so you know, from something like InDesign, for example, is that InDesign will pull in images at a reduced size. So the actual file that you're working with is at a lower file size, as where Pages does not do that. It brings in the full size of the image. And so the document that you're working with is quite large. So something to keep in mind. You're also not going to have the vast library as far as the fonts. And I'm sure there's some other things in there, but I thought I would just mention those two as kind of the big ones that I know are downsides of using something like Pages. But it's free, so there's that. Now, one of the biggest things I struggled with on this zine is the sizing. What I ended up going with is an 8.5 by 11 size because that's standard here in the US for a piece of paper. And I figured if I ever did want to translate this into printing, that would be kind of an easy sizing to go with, where it's just ready to go. And also that size works really well for something like the iPad that I have, and I'm thinking that it works probably pretty well for most tablets. Another size that you go with, like if you're from Europe, the UK, is the A4 size, which is very similar to the 8.5 by 11. It comes in at 8.27 by 11.69. So I think that's also probably a really good size to go with. And then there was the choice, do you go vertical or horizontal? I did research through Google what is the more common way that people read. It reflected that it was vertical. I ended up going horizontal. And the reason for that is because I always have a case on my iPad. So it's always just in horizontal position on a table or wherever I'm viewing the iPad at. So that's what I went with because I just thought, maybe other people think similarly, where they have a case on their iPad or other tablet, and it just naturally rests in the horizontal position. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts. If you read vertical and that's something that you think would be the better choice, it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts below. Two notes really quick that I realized I had left out when I was originally filming this. The first one is talking about the original file format that I went with when creating the zine, and that was using images that were at 300 DPI, which is the standard for printing. And the reason I did that is in case I ever do want to print this zine, that I have, an original document that has the quality that can do that. And so I'm working from that file to basically reduce it down to the PDF that I would sell to people for their tablets. The second point is that I have kind of my own philosophy, I feel like, when it comes to zines and how I think they should be, or the type of content that I think that should be in them. For me, I'm just not really into any kind of zine or magazine that just has someone's images. I still can appreciate the art behind that and the work that they've put in. But for me, I really feel like you need to add the content as far as what you were thinking, what the photographer may have been thinking, in this case, me, when I was trying to get that particular image, and what challenges there may have been, and what interesting things may have happened, and what my settings were at. I think all of those elements are really important. So there's my 2 extra points. Just wanted to make sure I got those in there because I felt they were kind of important to mention. Now, the final note that I have is what I exported exported the file as, and that was as a PDF within Pages. You can choose to export as a PDF, and I chose the middle option, which is called Better. Not the greatest term, I don't think, but ultimately that took approximately like a 650 megabyte file, which is quite large, and took it down to approximately a 12 megabyte file, which I think most people, if they're going to purchase your zine, are going to appreciate the fact that you've kept the file size fairly small, since we're always running out of space on our devices. And that also makes it easy for them to download. It's a small file size. So yeah, if you do end up using Pages, I went with the better option. So that's it as far as my notes on this one. If you are trying to create a zine, Good luck to you. I hope it goes well and that maybe some of these tips might have helped you out. Also, please feel free to chime in below if there's maybe something that helped you out. It would be great to hear from you and to add to the conversation for anyone else that might be trying to work on a zine. I'll, of course, leave a link for mine. And if it's something that you do end up purchasing, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It means a great deal. And other than that, I will see you guys in the next one. All right, bye.